Good morning, everyone. Here's your Eastern Idaho weather and hazard briefing for Sunday, December 6th. We continue to watch at least high pressure trying to hold. It's going to be weakening a bit today and then likely weakening even more as we get towards Tuesday and Wednesday. Otherwise, it's going to be dry. We're going to have issues with some air stagnation in some places. More likely in some areas, we're just going to see the inversions with the temperature difference. But in some of our more narrow valleys that tend to get locked in with some of that burning, that's where we might see a little bit more of a decrease in air quality. Is there going to still be a major change coming up next weekend? That may actually be a bit in question now. We continue to watch the storm moving inland. It's currently spinning over Oregon this morning. That storm will pretty much move just barely towards the Oregon-Idaho border before it books it towards Southern California. This system actually will be eventually the one that breaks down the ridge. This big low out in the Pacific and the Aleutian. This is called the Aleutian low. This system eventually will help break down the ridge over our area, at least for maybe the middle part of the week. Pretty much all the way through Tuesday into Wednesday morning, many places still dealing with valley inversions, potential air stagnation issues. But by later Wednesday, in some of the central mountain areas up into the upper Snake Highlands, the eastern highlands, we might see a little light rain and snow. We go into Thursday, it does look like there's a little better potential as that next day little storm comes through with some light rain and snow across the area. Breezing conditions, especially across portions of the Snake Plain and the Magic Valley and some of the higher elevations of the Central Mountains. But, things between now and then, like I said, we're going to kind of have to watch and see. So here's our low this afternoon over Oregon heading to the south. Some light precipitation hanging on to our west. Don't necessarily pay attention to the amounts that are showing up here on the map. We're just kind of going to show here the general pattern that we may be seeing once we get into next week. As we go through the period, you'll see that low heading south and towards California. The ridge tries to build back in for Monday across the area, but it's already starting to weaken. You'll see the pattern is starting to shift more, sinking more to the south and to the east. By the time we get to the middle and the end of the week, we're going to see the winds starting to pick up in some areas. So for Wednesday into Thursday, there's our low coming through. Not a lot of precipitation, just mainly in the highlands, maybe a little bit of extra precipitation falling along the I-15, the 84, 86 corridor along the Snake Plain. So we go into Thursday now. This is where things originally looked like we might have a huge low developing over the west, but you'll notice as we go through time, that low may be developing farther to the east. Still a lot of variability going on here. Just to kind of give you an idea, 24 hours ago it looked like we might have a big low and a lot of precipitation everywhere. Right now, not necessarily seeing that. We'll go through the period. The ridge is trying to build back in. That might be a bit strong for that, but the idea is, and as you've noticed as we go through time, we add a little bit of precipitation in the highlands as moisture comes over through the pattern and over the top of whatever ridge is built, trying to rebuild across the west. As we go into next weekend, you'll see that trend will continue. And it does look like by the time we get to next week, we still have maybe high pressure trying to build back in, but no big low developing. It looks like at this point. That could still change. Don't be surprised if we have a different idea of what might be happening for tomorrow. That's just what we talk about when we talk about uncertainty. Sometimes there's not a lot to hang your hat on for a weather pattern, but certainly along the west coast, Washington, Oregon, they're going to get a lot of precipitation no matter what we're seeing in terms of a weather pattern. So back to how we're going to be progressing through the period for this afternoon, at least temperature-wise. Temperatures into the 40s across the Snake Plain. Cooler as you head north where the inversion is holding a little harder across the Snake Plain. As you get down to where it has some more downslope, down valley wind, temperatures in the mid-40s. The Stanley Basin just cannot break out of these temperatures. 30 degrees is probably going to be too warm today. Don't be surprised if it's between 25 and 30 there this afternoon after a cold start. For tomorrow morning, where the inversion is holding a little bit stronger, we're going to be in the single digits above to about maybe 10 below zero. That includes up in the Stanley Basin. We might, and this is like a big might with a big capital M, might see a little stratus try to sneak up the Magic Valley from the west. That might make it into the Burley area across the lava beds, but it's a slim chance, just something to keep in the back of your mind. Nothing we're hanging our hat on at this point. And there's very little to any possibility of that shifting farther northeast into the Snake Plain. But again, sometimes in these weather patterns, that's not necessarily a zero chance with this particular pattern setting up, especially with the ridge rebuilding for tomorrow. For tomorrow afternoon, cooler with temperatures running in, I'd say in some places about 2 to 5 degrees cooler. It does look like maybe getting to only the low 40s down in the Magic Valley, but you can see farther north where the inversion's holding, it's in the 30s. It looks like the higher elevations, if you're heading there, we're talking in some areas around 25 to 30 degrees. And as we go into Tuesday morning, we're still holding pretty tough with the inversions across the area. You can start to see going into Tuesday, it's starting to warm back up back across the Magic Valley. Oakley may try to push 50 on Tuesday, but you can see as we go through the period, as the pattern changes, we start to lose the big temperature differences where the inversions were located under the ridge, and we start to see cooling temperatures across the board as colder air moves in across our area. So again, it should be dry. We're going to pretty much stay out of the precipitation until we get to midweek with at least that first storm coming through. The inversions, variability with that, especially by the time we get to Tuesday and Wednesday. The low that's clipping the area today, don't expect that to do much, maybe just a slight weakening of the inversions. Air stagnation issues to continue. And like I said, there may or may not be a major pattern change coming next weekend. Stay tuned to see how that happens. Otherwise, have a great Sunday, and do stay safe out there, everyone.